What's up, everybody, and welcome back to A Beer a Day with TK. It's a nice, overcast, somewhat cool day here in Findlay, Ohio, and I'm hanging out in the beer shed getting ready to check out a new beer. Now, the beer that I have today is called Cherry Grove, and this is from Bench Brewing Company out of Beamsville, Ontario, Canada. So this is an interesting find. A few weeks back, maybe it was a month, I guess it was more than a month now, maybe about 6 weeks ago, the Ginger Yeti and I went down to Columbus, Ohio to help my daughter move from one apartment to the next. And while we were there, you know, the Yeti and I are always looking for beer stores. So we looked up the closest beer store to her apartment, and we found this cool little place. I think it was called the Party Zone. I think the Yeti did a video where he talked about it previously. I think it was called the Party Zone. But when you see it from the outside, it looks like a place we're going to buy like Miller Lite, you know, and Busch Light. And then when we went inside, because we ordered some pizzas from the place next door, we said, we'll go and take a look. It was an amazing little selection of beers. Tons of local stuff, tons of imports as well, which is a shocker. We talked about this before. One thing I hate is, with the rise of craft beer, we seem to have forgotten about all the wonderful European beers, international beers that we used to have. In the old days, it would just be kind of domestics, Bud Miller Coors, the local stuff, and then, you know, a lot of international beer. And it seems as we got more reliant and started to like craft beer more, we gave up on international beer. I don't know about you guys. I'm interested in both. I want the local stuff, but I still want to be able to pick up good German beers and good Canadian beers and other things like that. So we found this in a cooler, and it was actually on sale. It was on a discount rack because I guess, I don't know if they're not moving or they're a little bit older. Now, I will say the date on this, and I bought this in 2024, is it says it was crafted on the 11th of September 2019. So we're approaching, I think it's mid-August now. What's today's date? Today might be the 19th of August. Yeah, it is. So in 1 month, this would be 5 years old, I guess. So if it's 19, yeah. 1 more month to be 5 years old. Now, the reason I didn't freak out is because this is a sour beer and they tend to do a little bit better. Now, what was kind of funny is when I was doing my research on this, I went on to, I usually go to Untappd and Beer Advocate to check the scores on them to see what people gave it when they rated it. And the last person to check in this was someone named like Blue Jackets something or other, and it said they were in Ohio, so Columbus Blue Jackets hockey. And they said the date on the bottle is literally the same exact date as this, the September 11th. 2019, which makes me wonder if the person who reviewed this last on Beer Advocate actually bought it from the same place. I'm going to have to say the odds of that are probably pretty high. To not have this beer in 5 years and then check in the one on the same bottling date, another Ohio person, it has to be from the same shop, which is kind of, I don't know, a little bit strange. But this here is Cherry Grove. It says it's a sour ale on Niagara Montmorency cherries. It says crafted in the escarpment. You might say to yourself, TK, what in the world is an escarpment? And I would say, I don't know. That's why I looked it up. So an escarpment is apparently a long, steep slope, especially at the edge of a plateau or a divide between two landmasses of different heights. So I'm guessing wherever this is here, it says that it's from Beamsville, Ontario. I'm not that familiar with the geography of Ontario, but I guess this is in the escarpment, for better or worse. Maybe that's a point of pride for the folks that live there. I don't know. On the side here, we get Cherry Grove is a bright and hazy sour ale, tart and lightly funky. This beer is fermented with our house culture of yeast and lactobacillus and finished on Niagara Montmorency cherries from our neighbors at Cherry Lane. With aromas of tart cherry and citrus fruit, Cherry Grove has tangy acidity and subtle earthiness. Now, if you watch this channel, you know this. There are some fruits that I despise. Watermelon is at the bottom of the list. I absolutely hate watermelon. At the top of the list, peaches is good, but cherries are always number one. When I was a kid, I had a cherry tree in my backyard, and I always had cherries and cherry pies, and I love cherries. It's my favorite fruit. So I'm hoping that this is good. I'm also a big fan of funkier sours, so I know it said lightly funky. We'll see what happened to it over the years. Stats on the 6.2%. ABV, 14 IBUs. Review-wise, did pretty good. Untappd, 3.7. Beer Advocate, 3.9, although I will say there's only 3 check-ins there, so tiny sample size. It asked to use a glass of this style, so I have one, my Findlay Brewing glass. Let's see what this looks like. Not picking up anything too crazy funky on the nose, like just from here, so that's positive, I guess. Well, depending on how you view it. I kind of like the funkiness, but First things first, color on this. I have my Brew HQ chart. Maybe like a 12. It's kind of like a medium amber color. It had a thin white head that dissipated quickly, which kind of to be expected when you're dealing with sours. I don't get a whole lot going on. If I look on the bottom, I have a few bubbles, kind of like slow, bubbles going up here, but nothing too crazy on the carbonation. If I look down from the top again, I see a few stray bubbles, but nothing too wild. Yeah, it looks all right in the glass. Let's give it a sniff. Now, first thing I will say is, I mean, I know it says lightly funky. It doesn't have that big sour whiff if you're not a fan of sours. It's not an overpoweringly strong, funky nose. I kind of dig that. It usually lets me know, when I do this channel, if a beer is super funky, they get a Bismarcky. Usually, if I get it on the nose, I get excited and think, all right, this is going to be funky. What am I getting on the nose on this? Probably some cherries and a wee bit of citrus, maybe like a lemony kind of thing, but nothing too crazy. Just kind of cherry, citrusy fruitiness. Yeah, it smells good. Let's give it a shot. Body, medium. Flavors. I would say they're slightly underwhelming for me, but I think it's what the bottle said that it was. Tart and lightly funky, yeah. Yeah, bright and hazy sour. I would say this tastes more citrusy than cherry to me. I think you definitely get like some kind of lemon citrusy feeling throughout. You might get you do get a bit of cherry. I'm not gonna say it's not cherries, but I think the dominant flavor instead of cherries is more the lemony citrus for me. Which does kind of pair nicely with the cherry, so it's not bad or off-putting. I was just expecting more of a cherry kind of forward beer. As far as, does it say sour? It says sour. I think barely tart is probably the correct word on this. I think it did say lightly tart, so I guess I can't knock them for that. Is it funky, Bismarcky funky? Not even close. This is the opposite of that. It's barely tart, barely fruity, like a little bit of a fruity tartness to it. Like I said, I think it's more like citrusy lemon, bit of cherries. You might get a little bit of the underlying maltiness to it, but that's kind of about it. Not a whole heck of a lot going on. Trying to see if there's anything else from the notes on there I should have been paying attention to. Not much. I mean, for 6.2... I mean, not that 6.2 is very high, but you don't really pick up the booziness. You just kind of get that slight tartness kind of dominates throughout. What I think about it, it's okay. I mean, I think I paid maybe $5 or $6 for it because it was on sale. Again, this is a few years old, so maybe it's mellowed or maybe some of the funkiness has died. I don't know. Not 100% sure how that would play out over time. But as a 5-year-old beer, it's decent. It's palatable. It's nice. It's not off-putting in any way. If you like kind of like slightly tart, more citrusy beers with a little bit of cherry, this kind of fits the bill. It's just not 100% what I expected. Now, like I said, when you read the little blurb here, they kind of did what they said they did. I just hate when you see cherry and sour. I'm expecting big, sour cherry pucker, and it just doesn't really do that. That being said, not a bad beer. Would I drink it again? Yeah, I would. Now, I will say this. If I was looking for a cherry sour, this wouldn't be my first choice. But if I was just looking for something, nice little sipper, maybe a little bit of tartness to it, a break from IPAs, lagers, pills, and all those other kind of styles, this would fit the bill. It's not half bad. It's just not great, As for the reviews, 3.7 Untappd seems a little bit high. I don't know about you guys, but for me, a 3 is kind of the run-of-the-mill average beer. If I go above 3, it's kind of getting better. If I go below 3, it's getting worse. So for me, this is still a pass. It's still a thumbs up. I do like it. It's just kind of not 100% what I was hoping for, if that makes any sense. But it's a decent beer and kind of is as billed, so I can't knock it. The fact that it was on the discount rack and I only paid $5 or so, or $5, $6, makes it a little bit more attractive. But yeah, you know, it's a solid beer. So Cherry Grove, Bench Brewing out of Beamsville. You guys did a decent job with this one. You know, I would have another one. I don't dislike it. I would definitely have another. If you like the video, give me a thumbs up, hit that like button. If you want to see more videos like this, please hit subscribe. You know, I don't like begging for subs, but if you do watch, I would appreciate it. It helps, especially small channels like mine. We don't really make, well, we make zero money. But, you know, there are two kind of thresholds we have to get over. One is the number of subscribers, and the second is actual view hours. So if you go out and just, you know, get somebody to follow you, it doesn't really mean anything unless they also watch the videos. So if you do watch and you like the videos, please hit the sub button, and, you know, I greatly appreciate it. And if you've had this, let me know what you think about it below. Are there any other sour cherry beers I should be looking for? I love sour cherry, so I'm always on the lookout for beers of this kind of variety. So if you got any other ones out there, it might be available in Ohio, let me know down below. Hey, till next time. Cheers.